welcome to Connect. This is an alternative talk show where we're gonna discuss about how to stay connected during the COVID-19 pandemic. Our topic today is how to stay in touch with family and friends in a meaningful way. You know, it's not about how many times I'm in touch with people, but is it life-giving? Our guests today are Kristine Bresser from France, right outside of Geneva. Welcome.
Thank you, Marit.
And Yohanan Rempt from Seattle, Washington. Welcome.
Really great to be with you all today.
Our third guest is Tony D'Alessandro, and he's in Los Angeles, California. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
How has the coronavirus situation affected your life so far? Yohanan.
Up till a week ago, the doctor had actually sent me to be tested, and then we found out that I tested negative. So I've been on lockdown for almost a month in some way. And of course, there's been concerns from my family because it can be bad for some people, especially if they have asthma, which I do. So yeah, it's been complicated and intense.
And Kristine.
Well, in France, we are also on lockdown. My family members may have it. Here in France, we are mostly healthy, but we have a number of requests for debriefing. People are in crisis because of it. They have had to suddenly leave countries, and so it's creating an awful lot of work for us.
And Tony.
Yeah, for me, I was in Hawaii at the YWAM training base, and I should be back in Italy by now, but got stuck in LA where everything had gone on lockdown. So I'm not able to get back to Italy where I've been living and serving for the past 4 years until Italy can reopen and we can get some flights back there.
It seems like most of the world is in isolation, and we all have to adjust to the new normal, which is uncertainty, basically. Someone said that this isolation is the introvert's heaven and the extrovert's nightmare. So I can totally identify with that. I'm an introvert, so I'm doing fine.
Yes.
I'm an extrovert, and it's very difficult.
Yes.
I have run into more introverts that are just saying, this is the greatest thing. I have time to read my book. Nobody can come visit me. And like you, Tony, the extroverts that are just dying of, I can't go see anybody. How do I energize myself?
It's difficult. Yeah. But I do think it's funny to, whenever I send someone a text message or a little message on WhatsApp or whatever, I normally greet them, and then I always say, so where are you at? Because everyone's at home. And so it's just a funny way to kind of open a conversation now for me.
Yeah. Kristine, what are some of the challenges that we face from not being able to be in contact with people?
Well, we were created to be in relationship. And one of the things that relationship does for us is when we are in a healthy relationship and talking with someone, it actually starts to touch into the pleasure centers in the brain. So neuroscience has taught us a lot about what's actually happening inside our bodies. And without having that opportunity to be in a good relationship with someone else, we try to find those pleasure centers of our brain stimulated in other ways.
A lot of people have told me that they feel more irritated or they can't concentrate on things. What could that mean?
That would be the increased stress levels. If we have other underlying emotional wounds from the past, this is the time that they will come up because we're higher stress levels and struggle to deal with the situation in some way. And so it often will come out in the relationships that are closest to us. And the isolation is creating these concerns. Will I be healthy? Will I get it? Will I not get it? How are my aging parents going to be? What about my children? I have to homeschool my children now. All of the different aspects will come out in our stress levels and in our relationship with people.
Yohanan, how have you been able to deal with the emotional side of isolation and the fear of having the virus?
Pretty well personally. My kids have been pretty worried. My son was just in tears when my wife dropped me off at the emergency room because he's 5, and from his perspective he was like, oh no, is dad gonna survive, because he hears the negative things and we're trying to be wise to protect him, but he knows that I've been sick. I've tried to reach out to people. I'm a very social person. People call me a raging extrovert. So that part has been difficult, and it's also just meant that some of our income streams haven't done well, which has caused a lot of emotional questions and conversations between my wife and I. So it's not been easy. It's been very difficult.
Yeah, that's an additional stress and burden for many at this time. The fact is that we are actually dealing with a lot of loss, whether it's big or small. Some people lose family members, and some people, lose their ability to go exercise. Or talk about that a little bit.
Global pandemic has created an incredible amount of loss, whether we realize it or not. And we experience loss on different levels. There's the obvious loss that we have, many people have experienced. That could be the restrictions of freedom. It could be not being able to do, we had planned ministry that we had planned for. There's also an emotional or an inner side of loss, and those are harder to identify. It's something that's non-tangible, a loss of control. I know what's going to happen. I know that I can get out to my family if I need to. I can't get out of the country. And we have to absorb that loss in some way. And if we just push it down inside of us and try to ignore it, I'm going to be strong, I'm going to be tough, I'm going to get through this, we carry that emotionally, and it's still going to come out in our relationships. What's more healthy in that is to begin to recognize these are what my losses are on a physical level, on an inner level, and to be able to express them, but also to recognize that all loss needs to be grieved. And so it's okay that I feel sad about something. It's okay if I'm angry. It's okay if I'm irritated. But how I express that is what I need to be careful of.
Tony, what are some of the losses that your friends in Sicily have expressed, and how are they dealing with it?
Yeah, I'm in almost daily contact with many people in Sicily. And for them, it has been a great time of fear. For my friends, I have friends who own vineyards, flower orchards that they normally sell daily in markets around the country. And they have incurred extreme losses of income, of their livelihood. I also work with migrants, refugees from all over Africa and the Middle East. They've already lost so much as it is, left so much behind, faced so much trauma, and now they're in Italy, out of their comfort zone. And for them, one of the losses has been already work and money was very hard to come by, and now they're stuck in a house with no possibility of making money or even looking for a job. And so I've been in daily contact, making sure the boys and the guys that I've been working with have food to eat. It's difficult because don't know if one's going to fall between the cracks and starve literally in their house while waiting for this pandemic to end.
Wow. How about the emotional side of your friends?
Being highlighted as one of the countries hardest hit from this virus, the people on the ground have a lot of fear. Their mind's playing games, and all they see is what's being broadcast on news, which is mostly negative. And you have to also understand that many people in Italy and Cicely live in apartment buildings. So it's not like they have a front yard or a backyard that they can go into. They are in a building. And for them, that's very confining.
Yeah, that's very difficult. I can go jogging on the side of my house. I can take 25 steps one way and 25 steps the other way, but it's a lot compared to people who don't have that. But let's talk about some positive sides of isolation. What creative ways have you found of coping with it?
We run laps around our house. When I was really sick about a week ago, we had lots of our friends from our community group. They just sent us meals with Uber Eats and different things like that. We've actually continued a lot of our community meetings. We just use Zoom, and that's actually been it's been a huge blessing. We can pray for each other. We're staying connected with, I don't know what we do without the internet. I'll say that.
I have found that in the last couple of weeks, without even asking, I have had a community of believers, my friends, family, people who follow what I do. They've been sending me money to actually be able to send over for the guys over in Sicily who are experiencing such loss, who are hungry and need to buy some food.
In Finland, they can still walk around, and one thing that they've done is that people put teddy bears on the windows. So when people go on walks, they can count how many teddy bears they see in people's windows. So that's one creative way to cheer each other up. Kristine, you work with people from many different cultures as a debriefer. Is there a difference in how people from different cultures cope with loss?
There certainly is. Some cultures that are very individualistic, people will sometimes tend to keep it to themselves a bit more. Other cultures that are more communal, it depends on whether or not the loss is something that can be talked about, can be recognized. If it is something that's shameful, then the person may keep it inside as well because it's uncomfortable to talk about it.
Yohanan, Tony, you also have a lot of connections internationally. Do you have anything to add?
For the migrants, many of the Islamic faith, they just don't know how this is going to go because however Allah wills. And so for them, it's a time where you're bringing truth into a situation that might outwardly look negative, but we can still find ways to cultivate joy. And I think that is why it's important to keep connected with them.
I think what I would say is I just keep seeing creative solutions to wanting to be connected. And that to me helps so many people feel like the loss is smaller or the impact is smaller, or even if it's a huge impact that they can talk about it.
Yeah, Kristine, what are some of the not so helpful ways of dealing with loss?
When we experience loss, there's an emotion that comes with that loss. And if we have healthy ways to express it, like taking our neighbor's dog for a walk, that can be really good. But if there isn't, and I find other coping mechanisms, habit, using drugs or alcohol, there is an increase in the use of pornography. We also see an increase in domestic violence.
Tony?
There is that rut that is easy to fall into, binge watching, and just becoming so entrenched in social media in a way that's not so very helpful. I think that it's a good thing to kind of encourage all of us to be the spark that goes out and find ways to connect positively and to make those calls. Often we want to be the receiver of those calls, but to just be inspired to let's be call makers and get people off the TV shows to talk to us, and not in a prying way, but just in a way to bring light and love and joy and relationship back in.
Kristine, what would be a helpful way to deal with the loss and the grief that is associated with it?
we have a tendency to think, I need to be strong, I need to get through this. And we don't need to be strong. We need to be real. We need to be honest. And the scripture so clearly says that God is strong in our weakness. It's in our weakness when we will find his strength. And so trying to pretend that I'm not hurt or sad or grieving or depressed is actually not going to help me. What's going to help me is to find somebody who I can be honest with to be able to talk about it. And we have an opportunity to be those people, to be the people, to be the safe people that someone can talk to.
I think even listening and becoming aware of the losses would be helpful. And so then the energy that goes into pushing down emotions would be released in coping with the situation and finding creative ways of connecting. And
I think you're right, Marit, and particularly as we are looking at what is it that makes me sad, what is it that I've lost, that we know that when Jesus died, he took all of the sin of the world on himself, but he also took all of the pain, and he is offering to carry for us the pain, the disappointment, the hurt that we feel. And so there's an opportunity. We don't just list it and put it on over there and then pick it up another day. We actually, as Christ followers, have some place to take it. Somebody who's actually saying, let me carry that pain instead of you. You don't need to carry that pain. I will give you my joy in place of the pain. And as believers, then that's the opportunity that we have, both to give our pain to the Lord and to receive that joy, but also to be that person who is safe to help someone else find Jesus in that way.
I have found the season we are in is so unique and historic that pretty much everyone in the world is being impacted in some way negatively. And I just think that this is really a pivotal moment in history for the church to arise and just to shine like never before. Because I think we were created for this kind of season that we find ourselves in.
Mm-hmm. And I think particularly as people who have been in missions, you just have to figure out how to get through things that most people don't do every day, but we do many of them very frequently. And I think we have just a massive amount to contribute that we usually don't have a platform to contribute. And in some ways, I think other people figure it out. But I think to even just to be intentional and to talk about how we've done our stuff, living in countries that aren't our passport country, and just sharing that stuff, I think can already help a huge number of people if they haven't already thought about those things.
do you have any thoughts on using arts or literature or music in coping with the isolation? Tony?
Yeah, my best friends from New Caledonia, who are now in France, have created an online forum. And it's been wonderful because the whole point of the forum is to recite poetry, scripture, and to sing songs. They're songs that we sing over each other, worship songs to the Lord. It's been a really great platform using arts to reach those back in New Caledonia and Vanuatu, here in the US, all throughout Europe. And I've seen people, including myself, who wouldn't normally tap into singing songs and posting it online, but on this online forum,
Jesus forever.
You see the people coming in and getting together, and I love it because we're using arts, we're using music, we're singing positive prayers and words over each other.
Yohanan, how can we bring peace and stability then to people?
I have realized, and the way that people have reached out to me and my family, it's taken away organizational responses to things. So what I mean by that is the church usually is a group of people that's bigger than a family or bigger than a household. But all of a sudden, this response goes down to me and my social connections, virtually, and my family's response. So I am the church in a way that I'm usually part of the church. So my response has to be very, very specific and very individualized in a way. I don't get to hide behind a bigger group. I have to choose myself to reach out and to connect with people. And I think we connect with the Lord and we ask him what to do. But there's also something so key in me realizing my own agency and my own ability to respond, my own ability to make a difference in at least one person's life each day.
We have such a unique opportunity to connect with people on a way that we're on the same level. And so when I talk to the guys in the refugee camp back in Sicily who are on lockdown, I can say, so am I. I'm in lockdown here, you're in lockdown there. And instantly there is one more step closer to connecting to them as human beings and able to relate to each other. Pretty much everyone in the world is at home right now. And so it's a way to connect that we're all on the same page.
You have been able to meet some immediate needs, financial needs for food, and that has opened doors for you to speak about God.
Yes, a lot of the guys that I work with are different religions, and it's a way to respond to felt needs. And it's also a way to speak blessing and prayers and truth into the situations we face. And I've actually have had a couple of guys respond very well to that. And it's almost created an open door to share more with them truth in the gospel and who Jesus is. And so, again, we all find ourselves in this level playing field where we can just instantly connect. What are the immediate felt needs? And when they are able to bring them up to me, I'm able to say, well, let's help and tangibly be the helping hand of God to those in need. And doing so, they instantly connect to the heart of God because of that. And they're able to see. I've had so many positive responses because it's not just words spoken at them. It is now action. It is agape fleshed out in real desperate need. It creates just such great conversation. And I'm really expectant for what's to come because I see so much that God is doing in the midst of all this.
That's wonderful. You have had a relationship with them for a long time, and now this situation is opening up a deeper level.
Many of them have left Sicily, where we met in the camps there. They're all throughout France, Germany, and so I'm able to keep in touch with all of them. WhatsApp or Messenger has been the way that we've used, and just making sure that they're doing okay. Just that word, hey, how's it going? Are you doing okay? It's very easy for us to fall into, well, who's thinking about me and who's going to email me or text to check in with me? And I can fall into that as well. But then to be that voice for someone else.
Okay, so if you are talking to 100 people, do you have a list that, I'm going to write this and this and this person and this person, or how do you keep track?
I do a generic message on WhatsApp saying, hey guys, I'm checking in. How's everyone doing? Private message me. You guys have any needs? I'm praying for you, giving them words. And then they will all respond to that. That's how I know that they're checking in with me. Even if it's hey bro. I personally message those back. I do a video, speaking, hey guys, it's me. And they love it. The guys, they download my video. Don't know why, but they download it and they replay it for other people to hear. I speak prayers or blessings. They record it and then they forward it on their stories. And so it's getting the word out. The other day I encouraged all of them to read Psalm 91 and a lot of responses to it.
Well, that's a great idea. Very creative. Yohanan,
probably the biggest thing that I do. I just see who God's putting on my heart today and try to message them or text them or call them occasionally. My kids are also just sending little letters to people that we love with encouragement messages and birthday cards, and trying to really use the mail system also where we can. But it's really simple stuff, but I think it's just about being intentional and telling somebody you're thinking about them and telling somebody you're praying for them. And
Kristine, when we are in touch with people, what would be helpful for them?
Oftentimes when we begin talking to somebody and they start sharing, and then you think that's bad, well, let me tell you what it's like here. And instead of doing that, that's just kind of that competition for who has the worst story or who has the funniest, whatever it is, just to take a step back from that kind of engagement and engage with them in a different way that's listening to them, empathizing with them, sharing, acknowledging the situation that they're in a way that is encouraging to them. It's not in a way that's judgmental or critical, but in a way that validates their experience, that validates who they are, so that you can encourage them to be honest about what it is that they're feeling, what it is that they're experiencing.
Yeah, by listening, we can really help the people to express how they are feeling and experiencing their isolation or whatever situation.
yeah, but we've talked a lot about connecting with others in this conversation, but I think also trying to figure out just ways to play, let it be lighthearted, and then also downtime, turning off whatever it is that's creating stress or tension, and being intentional about detaching and relaxing and not avoiding, but just giving ourselves rest time somehow from the things that are most intense to us, which may mean just turning off the news feed, but there's lots of different ways to do it.
That's so true. And I think on that good note, we can end our discussion. Thank you for watching. I hope you all got some ideas of how to stay connected with family and friends in a meaningful way. Thank you, Kristine. Thank you, Tony and Yohanan, for a great discussion today. In our next episode, our topic will be e-learning. How can we continue training during isolation? Follow us on Facebook and YouTube. And thank you again for watching, and see you later.